Hello, friend. Welcome to the video. Today's title and topic will be discussing on whether I consider myself a Christian, a Buddhist, Hindu, or other. And just to put this out there at the beginning so that people are aware, although this video is discussing my personal experience, there is substance within this message that hopefully you can apply for yourself. Without substance, this would be an offering of just concepts and beliefs and programs, and that's not where I find the value. So, am I Buddhist, Christian, Hindu? I apologize up front for not adding anything about any religions outside of those. I haven't investigated those, so I'm not leaving them out for any other reason than I lack familiarity with them. So for me to speak on them would be baseless to a point. So I was raised with a Christian influence. I was familiar with the Bible. I didn't practice as a Christian wholeheartedly. That was when I was very young. However, it was after my mother passed that I began to recognize that I had this sense of lack of substance in my life, lack of understanding of anything that had value. I had no discernment. I was investing in all the things that culture encourages you to invest in, and I was not happy nor satisfied, and I was the opposite, actually. I was unhappy. I was not satisfied. So this encouraged an investigation, not necessarily specifically initially outside of Christian religion, but just investigation in general. My intention was to seek and find, and I was so naive that I did not understand where to go or what questions to ask. So, but I had the desire to grow. So I came into things that maybe helped to an extent, and then became limitations, helped to an extent, and then became limitations. And once you shift from what would be the word? Restricting yourself, as maybe a Christian faith person might do, restrict themselves only to a Bible. Once you take off the restrictions, you are now unrestricted. And I didn't allow myself to be restricted at that point. I wanted to understand as much as I could about whatever was getting in my way and how to transcend it. And my investment was in growth at that point, and not in religion per se. So eventually I found my way into back to types of religions such as Buddhism and Hinduism and spiritual texts, loosely at first, meaning I didn't hear about Buddha and gravitate to Buddhism for any reason, and I didn't solely invest in Buddhism, same with Hinduism. But what I found is the more that I learned about, I'll use Buddhism, Hinduism, and spirituality in general, the more that I began to learn about them, to see that they offered practices that I could apply to develop my own discernment, mindfulness, compassion, love, forgiveness, then I began to really see their value. I followed also other spiritual teachers. To name a few, might be David R. Hawkins was one when I was first starting out. Getting into this stuff, I was very naive when I came into his work. Then from there, enlightened teachers such as Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj. And the higher these teachings go, what I found was their teachings are pointing unapologetically inward. As the Christian texts would say, "Be still and know that I am God." That is the Bible's expression of enlightenment. Not saying there aren't others in Scripture, but that the one is very clear. Be still and know that I am God. And this is what all of, say, Buddha, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramana Maharshi, David R. Hawkins, this is what they're pointing at. This inward search, this inward connection. Why does it even have value? So you begin to, if you are earnest and honest about growth, you have no choice but to dig in and dive in and go inward. The value of all these books isn't to have a book on the shelf. It is to receive its message and apply it and see what fruits it bears. And they are all pointing inwards. So, as I grew in my connection and my inward introspection, my attachment to Christianity dissolved, and so did my misperception that Christianity is the way, and it allowed me to recognize experientially that Christianity is a way. Christ may have been the Son of God, but what was Christ's message? He didn't just come, get crucified, and go and say, "I am God." What was his substance? What was his message? Love, kindness, compassion, forgiveness. Is that any different than what the Buddha said? Is that any different than what Krishna said? I'm going to expand this for people who have meditated, because if you haven't meditated, you haven't had the experience to understand this, but is that any different than what consciousness says? It's important for spiritual teachers to convey the message that you yourself, your inner self, not your ego, not your default programs, but your consciousness is the guru. Nothing outside of you. This piece of consciousness in you is your creator, is God. Our Father who art in heaven, and heaven is within. Be still and know that I am God. So all of these things point, all Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, spirituality, are pointing inwards at that consciousness. At that source of life. That's the substance, not the religion. That's what they're all pointing to. That's what all of these things are pointing to. Get out of your preferences. However, if you don't meditate and you don't practice these things, you're on the surface of something trying to understand the substance of the essence of something, and it's unattainable that way. You have to dive in to experience the substance and the essence of something. To read about something never gives you that experience. Never gives you that experience. I've had conversations with people who they want to get it. I won't suggest that they want to get it. They act as though they want to understand what you are saying. But the way they want it is in concepts. They want sounds that come out of your mouth hole. In other words, they want you to use words so that they can receive concepts that their ego will define for them. This is the error. If a person truly wants God, why are they not being still? If they're truly devoted to God, why are they not being still? Why are they not learning to surrender their source of sin, which is the ego? Why are they not investing in such things? Because, and their actions are showing you, that they're not truly invested in doing what it takes. So a person may want to understand what you are saying conceptually, meaning they will listen to your words, but they aren't willing to do the work to have an experience so that they gain personal understanding themselves. Religion is a beautiful thing in the form of inspiration. It can inspire somebody to get to work, and it can provide a map, as I've spoken about. However, it is not the treasure. Bernie's having a great day today. Hey, Bernie, you're beautiful. Have you ever heard anybody say, being a Buddhist made me a better Christian? I have. You can research that one on the internet. The reason it is so is because Buddhism teaches you how to be more Christ-like. Teaches you and encourages you through mindfulness, through meditation, through connection to consciousness, how to develop discernment, compassion, love, forgiveness. Would not all of those make you more Christ-like, make you a better Christian? How could something that makes you a better Christian be anything that's not Christian? Just because it's given a different title. So many of these religions in essence are the same thing, the same truths, and the things that differ between them are mostly beliefs and concepts and things you cannot personally apply to bear that fruit anyways. So in spirituality you learn, and that's, in essence, that's food for the ego. That's entertainment for the ego. If you're looking to spend time being entertained, you're distracting yourself from direct connection to consciousness in that moment. You're either conscious or you're carnal. Carnal mind is what they refer to the ego as in Christian scripture. You're conscious or you're carnal. One or the other. In every moment. So if you're distracting yourself with entertainment outside of consciousness, you're distracting yourself from connection with consciousness. So, are you conscious or are you carnal? Am I Christian? I see value in Christianity. I've learned a lot from Christianity. I'm a Christ fan. Am I Buddhist? I see the exact amount of value that I see in Christianity in Buddhism. They've allowed me to develop my current state of mindfulness, which can always be improved and deepened, by the way. I'm not claiming to be anything other than have a deeper understanding than I had previously. Am I Hindu? Same goes for Hinduism. Here's maybe a better question. Am I Christian, Buddhist, or Hindu? Well, what's the actual difference? Have you looked into them yourself? Or are you only listening to the interpretation of what one religion means from a different religion? From a different religion's interpretation of that religion? Are you going to go to Burger King and ask them what they think about McDonald's Big Mac? Is that going to give you the truer understanding of what a McDonald's Big Mac is? We're getting deep, eh? Is that going to give you an unbiased opinion? We're not so interested in, once you get into the substance, you understand that opinions aren't really too important. You want to find the substance. What is the substance of Buddhism? It's understanding your nature, understanding consciousness. And in having done so, as you deepen that relationship with consciousness and you deepen that mindfulness, you are naturally more loving, compassionate, considerate, kind, gentle, forgiving, all Christ-like attributes. What is the substance of Christianity? Did Christ just say, I came, I am God, that's the substance? Or did he tell you you have work to do? What is that work that you have to do? Did he have a message? Did he teach you things to apply? He sure did. Are those teachings of what Christ taught any different than what Krishna teaches you to do in Hinduism and what the Buddha teaches you to do in Buddhism? And are they also not the most transforming and substantial teachings that we find in spirituality? Tell you what, if you were Christ-like, you're being a better Buddhist. If you're Christ-like, you're being a better Hindu. If you're Christ-like, you're being a better expression of spirituality. So what does that say about those other things? I can say these things unbiasedly because I have no investment or attachment to any of them. But a Christian might hear these things and be so invested in Christianity that they will deny the value of these other things, not only for preferences and beliefs' sake, but because they have likely, if they're denying them beyond just preferences and beliefs and opinions, it's likely because they have lacked the experience of looking into those religions themselves and seeing that these things are in harmony. Whether Buddha says love your enemy or Christ says love your enemy, the message is the exact same. Whether I say love your enemy, whether my budgie Bernie says love your enemy, the message is the exact same. It's pointing you in the same direction on the compass. It's taking you in the same direction karmically. It's giving you the same experience. Have gratitude for the teacher. Have gratitude for Christ. Have gratitude for Buddha and for Krishna. But don't give your power away to suggest that Buddha did not make you capable of discernment or compassion or kindness. That is innate within you. That is your God quality. That is grace. To invest solely as a Christian, solely as a Buddhist, solely as a Hindu, suggests that that person hasn't developed enough experiential understanding to see and recognize for themselves that they're very similar. And their substance is pretty much exactly the same. For a person who's invested specifically, considers them solely a Christian, be aware that it's only your mind that holds that belief. It's not your thumb. Your thumb is not Christian. Your toenail is not Christian. Your hair is not Christian. It's only the program that you're choosing to invest in. That doesn't make it true. That just makes an investment in an egoistic program. Is that how you want to approach a relationship with God? Through an egoistic program? It's quite possible that you're not even aware of what an egoistic program is, but if it's just a belief system, it's showing you that it's just your mind. It's no different than a favorite food or a favorite car or a favorite song. You only like that because of how the program's been embedded. It could just as easily be something else. You could just as easily be Buddhist and have the exact same amount of investment as Christian. It's just a running program. More important than the current running program is the substance. Christ didn't come here to program us. Buddha and Krishna did not come here to program us. They came to point and shine a light on the part of us that is beyond the program. That's consciousness. That's the God in you. Begin to challenge your own preferences and belief systems. If you think that you're a Christian, begin to challenge the idea that Christianity is the only thing that's capable of teaching you to be more Christ-like. Understand that being Christ-like is the goal, is it not? Being Christ-like isn't just a fun, fancy, cool thing to say. That's where the substance is. You don't be Christ-like just because Christ was cool. You be Christ-like because that's where the transformation is. That's where the substance is. That's where the karmic shift is. And when you're more Christ-like, you're more Buddha-like. You're more Krishna-like. What does that say? Get out of your beliefs. Get out of your beliefs. If you're invested in those beliefs, I'm inspiring you to challenge them. The beliefs that you invest in are the ones that hold you back from deeper understanding. And getting outside of Christianity was the biggest step that I took for deepening my understanding and relationship with God. Getting outside of Christianity was what it took. Christianity is beautiful and the scripture is beautiful. However, there are many misinterpretations by people who are unenlightened reading these scriptures, such as a priest who has they're so invested in the carnal concepts that they don't even recognize that they're stuck in the carnal mind. I'm not saying every priest, but largely those who are misinterpreting the Bible and giving you the disempowered version of it, saying that the power is outside of you. That's the disempowered version of it. It's hard for them to direct you towards your empowerment when they're speaking from a stance of disempowerment right off the get-go. There's truth within Scripture, but it's hard to understand, it's hard to receive substance at a depth greater than your current understanding already. That's what contemplation is for. It allows you to pose a question and not think about it logically with the carnal mind, but you offer a question to consciousness, and in time you receive the epiphany or the revelation, which is consciousness giving you back this understanding. Where is that most likely to happen? In a meditative state. The value of meditation, right there. How many people need an answer for a solution? They say, I'm going to meditate on it. The idea is that you make space, get out of that carnal mind, get out of that ego, get out of that logical, intellectual approach. Make space and allow the God in you to provide the understanding. It's like magic when it happens. It's like a miracle when it happens, because it's not anything. If you've never had such an experience, it's almost it seems like a miracle, it seems like magic, but it's what's natural. But the ego can't comprehend how something like that could even manifest. So the ego doesn't rely on that. The ego relies on trying to fit concepts and beliefs and preferences and opinions into a puzzle, and then all you're left with is this carnal puzzle at the end of it, which gets in a way and distracts from consciousness and God, just understanding and the wisdom of it, the substance of it. And if you fail to challenge your own beliefs and your own investment in a single religion, you're binding yourself to it. You're saying, I'm choosing to go only as far as this one book will allow me to go. And that also shows very clearly that your investment is not necessarily in a deepened relationship with God, as deep as you can get it, but rather as deep as one book will allow you to achieve it. If you were a cook, would you only choose one book and assume that that's going to make you the best cook in every sense of the word? I think that's a fairly naive approach. Pretty easy for people to admit that that's a pretty large limitation, right? With God, it's no different. With God, it's no different. If you're not already looking inward, if you're not already connecting and learning to surrender your ego and your carnal mind, what is that book doing for you? It's entertainment. It's entertainment and distraction for the carnal mind. It's all it is. I apologize. I'll take that back. It can provide inspiration. However, when you're reading that and not acting on the inspiration to get to work, to be still and know that I am God, understand that you're just filling the carnal mind up with more concepts, more belief systems, more ideas that distract you when you could just be getting to work. Reading about, rather than just getting in there and playing with. Why not just get in there and play with consciousness? What is your mind telling you about that right now? Why aren't you just getting in there and experiencing consciousness? Just meditate. What is your mind suggesting that there's a reason not to do that at this moment? That's the carnal mind right there. It's boring. It's satanic. It's not Christ. It's who knows what concept you've been programmed with. This is the limitation of concepts. Concepts are not substance. Concepts are how the carnal mind labels and sorts things. If your investment is to deepen your connection with God, and you haven't already grasped this substance from the religions, you have to surrender the carnal mind. You have to surrender it. What is surrendering the carnal mind? That's meditation. Let go of the carnal mind. And what do you experience other than pure consciousness? Be still and know that I am God. That's Christian. It's Christianity. That's Buddhism. The exact same thing. That's Hinduism. That's spirituality. So when you're acting that out, you're an expression of all of those things. But to mentally invest in any single one of them, specifically, is a carnal mind expression. So do I consider myself Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, or spiritual? If you see my actions, you might see, if I'm being an example of them, you might see an example of them. Mentally, I do not invest or attach to any of them. I surrender them all as deeply as I can, because I don't want the egoistic concept of what they are to distract me from consciousness, my connection to consciousness, to God in this moment. That's where my investment is. That's where the substance is. All right? So this was a longer offering today. Again, this was partially about me, but don't miss the substance that was in this. It's not about me. How does this apply to you? Are you investing in one specific religion while denying and denouncing the value in other religions because you don't recognize that the substance is the exact same? And if you are doing so, recognize that that's not serving your connection to God. If you value God, you have to take off the blinders. If you value God, you value all of God, not just one book that talks about God. Recognize that it's your misunderstanding, your limitation, your ignorance, not to be said in a critical way, but your lack of understanding that leads you to condemn these other pieces of God. You are, in essence, condemning, when you're condemning Buddhism and condemning Hinduism and condemning spirituality, you are condemning God in those manifestations. You're condemning those scriptures that are telling you how to be more Christ-like. And from my experience, I find that Christianity, unfortunately, or maybe it's the perfect vehicle to give the people who choose that path, to give them that lesson. But I find that Christians seem to be the most intolerant and the most disconnected spiritually from that of others who follow different religions. They're so invested in a power outside of themselves that they never learn to practice and emphasize that, hey, heaven is within, and our Father who art in heaven. All right? Okay, well, I love you, friends. Stay awesome. Keep changing that world, and we'll talk soon.